Welcome, GTS Retail Partners, and welcome to our Wednesday edition of the GTS Retailer to Publisher webinar series, a weekly series that we put together usually twice a week to let you get a chance to talk to some of our GTS vendor partners on a semi one-to-one kind of level and get some information. If you're unfamiliar with our series, I'm Scott Bohr. I'm the category manager for gaming specialty products, which includes dice, accessories, RPGs, and miniature games, all growing categories here at GTS, so we're really happy with that. And today we're welcoming Chris Haskins from Nord Games to talk to you. But before we do that, we want to jump in with a description of how Zoom works, if you're not familiar. And I think most of us are nowadays with everything in the world as it is, I guess I should say. But if you mouse over your screen or you tap the three dots on your phone, you'll see a chat window, and that's where you can interact with the presenter today. You can press the chat button, and then you'll be taken to a window where you can enter your question. And you may notice that there's two options for entering your question. There's all panelists or all panelists and attendees. If you select all panelists, you'll see that it only goes to the panelists and not to the attendees as well. But if you click all panelists and attendees, then everybody gets to see the message. So you can decide who you want the message to go to and then select appropriately. I'll be monitoring the chat for Chris so that he can focus on the presentation. And then at the end, there's a time for questions and we'll get through that. The other thing is if you're watching on YouTube, you can like and subscribe to be notified when new videos are added. We add them, like I said, about twice a week. So it's a great opportunity for you to get to know some of our GTS partners, vendor partners, and products that they produce. And with that, I will hand the microphone over to Chris Haskins of Nord Games, a fabulous new vendor here for GTS, and one that we're really excited about, providing more content for 5th edition and to supplement your RPG experiences. So Chris,
thanks, Scott. Yeah, great. Appreciate the introduction. Thanks everybody for attending today. Looking forward to answering your questions and just giving you a presentation overview of all of our products. And feel free to throw questions at me as we're going through, no problem, but we'll have a full Q&A at the end as well. So let's see, Scott, I just need to click on share screen.
Yep, yeah.
And then select the right screen. There we go. All right, so everyone should be seeing my screen. It says Nord Games on it. Okay, cool. So introduction, we are a group of, we call highly skilled. We wrote this. So we feel that our products are just excellent additions to people's gaming tables and their collections. We're big fans of card games and board games and role-playing games. We publish a lot of stuff for 5th edition D&D. We also publish some system agnostic products. So it's not all 5th edition, but you could use some of our stuff for things like Pathfinder, Swords and Wizardry, or older editions of D&D without any issues. I was trying to come up with something witty to tell you about myself, and then I decided I would just show instead of tell. So I just took a picture of myself doing what I do, Bahamut fighting Tiamat, why not? So I figured that was a pretty good way of introducing myself to you. If you've been to Gamma, you may have already met me at some point in time, usually hanging around the Nord Games booth. So I look forward to seeing everybody next year at when Gamma's back on physically. Our product lines, we basically have for D&D, we have books and card decks at this point in time. We have published some card games in the past, but we will be coming out with some revamped ones of those in the future, as well as some new card games and board games in the future. But for right now, it's going to be all card decks for D&D, as well as books for D&D and system agnostic, like I said. So we have the Critical Hit series, and some of you may be familiar with these. Essentially, what happens on a a natural 20 or a natural 1. We have 4 decks in this series. We've got the critical hits for players to use against the monsters in combat. We have critical hits for the Dungeon Master to use against the players in combat. We have critical fails, which anybody, players or Dungeon Master can use regardless of who had the fail. And then we have the Fates and Fortunes deck. The Fates and Fortunes deck a little bit different because it is sort of like little rewards or detriments that you get over the course of the game, not necessarily just in combat. So earlier on in the game, someone needs to climb up a sheer rock face in their adventure. They roll a natural 20 and boom, they get one of these cards that is a boon for them later on in the game. They can cash in anytime they want. So let's say later on in the game, they made a totally flubbed roll. They've got this card that says add a 1d8 to any roll, and they cash that in, and now they can roll that 1d8 and maybe have a success on that roll. Equally so, there are the cards where if you've rolled a 1, let's say a charisma check earlier on in the game, you roll a 1, the DM can throw down something that they can pull on you later on in the game to sort of hinder you a little bit. So these are all $15 MSRP, and we have them all listed under the NRG product code. So they also have ISBNs. I'm not sure if this is going to come out on camera, but they have ISBNs, barcode, and then they also have the NRG number on the bottom. I'm not sure how big my window is, but this is what the product looks like in real life. The cards themselves are presented like so. And then they have different attack types. Based on the attack type, that's what you would be looking at. So the slashing weapons, piercing weapons, bludgeoning weapons, and then magic would be the different types of attacks. And these are on the critical hits. There's a bunch of different severities, if you will. We've got anywhere from setbacks to deadly, dangerous, and life-threatening. So, and there's more setbacks than there are of the other categories. The deadly ones, there's like 4 in the deck. So, but a fun product, definitely our best-selling product to date, one of our oldest products that we've had, and but definitely one of the ones that sells quite well across the board. Let's see, the next deck series we have is the Wandering Monsters. And I can't see the chat anymore after I started presenting, but if there are any questions, Scott, feel free to, if you can't answer them, feel free to chime in. The Wandering Monsters series, this is basically when you're in your various environments, in a dungeon environment, in the outdoors, in some sort of waterways, rivers, lakes, oceans, and then underground being like natural cave formations and stuff. So I have the Wandering Monster deck for dungeons right here. It features a lich on there, and then it inside you're going to have outcomes, either 3, 4, or 5 outcomes, and the way that they're presented is you're given a cue, and then you're given some read aloud text, and then you're given the options. I'm not sure if this is going to come out on camera, but you're given the options. The options will have a D6, a D8, or a D10 that you can roll on, whether it's 3, 4, or 5 outcomes. And then there's also a challenge rating associated with that result. So you could make it random. You could use the challenge rating to determine what the group encounters. So pretty versatile product, and everything that we produce is all under the OGL. So all of it is going to be okay to use for 5th edition, if it's a 5th edition product. And these are all monsters that you would find in the monster manual. No other books required for this. In a lot of the stat blocks and stuff, because they are OGL, people can just look them up on their phone if they've got D&D Beyond or just open source websites and stuff like that, if they don't have the monster manual. So this one's a lot of fun. It's a great product if you want to generate interesting encounters on the fly. There's lots of versatile ways you could use it. You could pull 2 different cards, and the heroes happen to encounter these 2 groups fighting each other, or they sneak up on, you pull a card and you sneak up on this group of, goblins or bugbears or whatever it's going to be. And then having the 4 decks so that you've got the 4 different environments that they would encounter these monsters in, because these are the environments these monsters exist in, makes a lot of sense. And this has been a great accessory and saves a lot of time for dungeon masters. Again, $15. Most of our decks are $15. Most of these decks are going to be 50 cards, and they'll come in a tuck box. They will come shrink wrapped, and like I said, they'll all have an ISBN on the bottom, so nice and easy for you guys to scan in and scan when you're ringing them up. So let's see. Next, we go on to Treasure Trove. The Treasure Trove decks are, again, using all the resources available in the core rulebooks. So all the items out of the player's handbook, all the items after the Dungeon Master's guide, they will basically present the player with a rollable table on the card, and the rollable table will have a certain rarity to it. So if we were to draw this card and we rolled on the table, it's always going to be a D12. So we roll a D12, we get an 8, and it's a 1 to 6, 7 to 9, 10 to 11, and 12. 12 is always going to have some sort of magical item because it's the rarest on here. So with an 8, that's going to be within the 7 to 9 range. We found 20 arrows, a bow quiver, a crowbar, and a hunting trap. So that's the loot that we find when we pull that card. Now, this is a huge time saver for the Dungeon Master, because if you happen upon loot, or you are pulling whatever items you can off of the orcs you just slayed, or what, whatever is going on, you can simply hand a card to each one of the players, and then they can roll on the table to figure out what they found. It's been a whole lot more interactive and saves a lot of time, because the alternative is for me to pull out the book and start to roll on tables and stuff inside the book, and I have to deal with each player one by one, and that can be a lot of fun, and we all get to, what did they find, but then you really do spend an awful lot more time than you would if you went this route. And these are broken up according to challenge rating. So basically, we've got the 5 decks. The challenge rating is 1 to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12, 13 through 16, and 17 through 20. So, and each deck has completely unique outcomes on each card. So you're not going to find the same stuff in the deck for 1 to 4 as you will for challenge rating 5 through 8. So making it by challenge rating is helpful, because you can just figure out, well, this encounter that I created is going to be a total challenge rating of 7. So I will use the deck that is challenge rating 5 through 8. So everything in here would be appropriate to what you just went through. So yeah, definitely a great product. And we use these, I use these at every game. So definitely a great, great accessory for anybody. And again, these are $15 each, and a great accessory for your dungeon masters. Saves a lot of time. Objects of Intrigue. So the Objects of Intrigue decks are going to be a way to generate something intriguing, something that is going to help you with your creativity, maybe before the session, help you on the fly to create something, and maybe an event that happens around an object. And we have these divided up in the same way that we have the Wandering Monsters. So we have the environment done with dungeons. We have Wilderlands, which is everything, outside plains, forests, mountain ranges, that kind of stuff. We have underground, again, your natural caverns and caves, and we have waterways. Waterways being lakes, rivers, oceans, that kind of thing. And these are going to be similar to our other products. They will have a queue at the very top, what is it that you find? What is the object? You're going to have some read aloud text, and then you're going to have some not read aloud text, maybe just for the DM information, and then a rollable table on here to figure out what specifically has transpired. We have right here a simple chest. Here sits a simple rectangular chest, each corner reinforced with metal. The top is engraved with a monogram, but the individual letters are hard to make out. So that's what I would be reading aloud to the players. And then I have some instructional text. Roll a d6 on a 5 or 6. The chest is locked, and the chest contains ... And then we've got all these different things it could contain. It's a d4. So I'll go ahead and roll a d4. We got an outcome is a 4. So it contains a collection of notes, scribbles about all things arcana. So that's, however you're going to use that, it adds something to your adventure. Where they find that, it's totally up to you. I happen to be pulling from the dungeon deck. So this would probably be found in a crypt or a tomb or a dungeon of the Mad Mage, wherever you're going to be playing. So that's an extremely useful resource for prepping or on the fly. I usually use these on the fly. So while we're going through maybe a dungeon crawl, or I just want to spice it up a little bit, I'm in the Lost Mine of Fandelver in the Wayveco Cave, and we want to just add a little bit more than what's available there and a little bit more random. I'll just pull a card at random. And because you've got 50 cards in each deck and 4 outcomes per card, you can use this over and over and over and over again, and you're very unlikely to have the exact same experience over and over again. It's definitely another deck that I keep close by whenever I'm running a game. And because we have them divided up according to the environments, it is something where I'll know that we're going into a forest, so I'll pack the Wilderlands deck. I know that we're going into a cave, so I'll pack the underground deck, that kind of thing. So definitely a great tool, and helps to break up the monotony and add some spice to your games. So that's those are all 5 of our deck, was it 4 or 5? All of our deck products that are only decks. Some of our books do have deck accessories, and I'll get into that. We're going to go into the Ultimate NPCS books. So there's a bit of a redesign happening right now. We're reprinting these with a new logo. So we have that in the works, but I've got the older graphics here because this is what's still available. Ultimate NPCS was our first Kickstarter, I believe, in the D&D world, and the whole idea of it is to present fully fleshed out characters that could be used as NPCs. They could also be used as playable characters. Let's say that you have someone who is brand new and they don't know how to make a character. They can just open this book and they've got a character that they can use right off the bat. Each character does have full color artwork. Let's see here, Skullduggery book. So each character does have full color artwork on their level 1 version, and we present them as a level 1, a level 4, a level 8, a level 12, a level 16, and a level 20. So I'm not sure if this is showing up. I hope it is. So this is the kind of thing that is extremely helpful if you're trying to create a story. They're all fully fleshed out. They've got personalities, they've got backstories, they've got interconnectivity with each other between characters in their same books, as well as hints at characters in other books. So we're not using any sort of setting either. So it's completely up to the dungeon master how they want to use them. And they may have interpersonal relationships with other characters from this book, but no names of cities or anything like that or realms are ever mentioned. So it's truly something you can just drop right into your adventure and how you see fit. Great for hirelings, adding protagonists to the adventure, antagonists as well. We have 30 fully fleshed out characters in each book, as well as a bunch of generic characters in the back of the book. So in the generic NPCs section, sorry, this is so washed out, but my brightness on my camera is not great. But we've got, let's say in this one, the Skullduggery one, we've got these generic NPCs that are things like, brigands and thieves and assassins, but they don't have names and backstories and stuff. They've just got their stat block and, essentially the standard way of running them. And we have them from, low CRs down from 1/8. I've got some brigands here. So we've got basic brigand, average brigand, skilled brigand, elite brigand, legendary brigand. And then we've got some brigand bosses and stuff. So the biggest brigand boss is up to a challenge rating 7, it looks like. And yeah, so down from 1/8 challenge rating up to a 7. And so you got a lot of options to go with there. And also the ones that have backstories will have 10 good aligned, 10 neutral aligned, and 10 evil aligned. And they range from all different races and classes. So there's a whole mixture of different options. Right now we have the Skullduggery theme, the warfare theme. We will have in the future an Arcana theme, and then eventually a religious theme one as well. So you'll cover all the bases when it comes to the classes. So that is Ultimate NPCs. Those MSRP for $40. So keep that in mind. Also, we do create unique spells, items, and things like that to go in the books as well. So these are things that Dungeon Masters can use in their own adventures, spice things up. We move on to the Ultimate Bestiary line. Ultimate Bestiary is where we are creating all of our monsters. One of the reasons that we call it the Ultimate Bestiary is it goes so much more than your standard monster manual, and that's not to poo-poo the monster manual or anything like that. It's just we've gone about it a little bit differently. There we go. We've gone about it a little bit differently and tried to really add a lot to the standard monster. And these are all full color, by the way. So all of our books are going to be full color hardcovers, and we do them on a very nice paper, a nice gloss. It feels great, and also it's sustainably sourced. So we've been very happy with our production facility. We've got just excellent artwork too. Hopefully that comes out. And as you can see, I mean, the cover, just amazing artwork. This is one of our favorites, actually. And in this particular book, the Ultimate Bestiary, the Dreaded Curse, this covers things like liches and ghouls and ghast and lycanthropes and mongrel folk and wights and vampires, everything that you can think of that is, cursed, skeletons, zombies, stuff like that. We have, I think this book is 260 pages. We also put layer maps and stuff in the back, a little added value. One of the things that we do also is we present, let's see, it's maybe in the, it's a lot of monsters. So we present encounters. So you can very easily, if you want to, roll on a table like this, that all the CR has already been calculated for you. So like our Wandering Monster decks, we applied this same concept to these books. So let's say a zombie encounter, CR, I see the range here is CR 1/2 to 6. So I'm going to roll a D8 and let the chips fall where they may. It's going to be a 2. Nice. They got off easy. So it says Necromancer's Dregs. We have 4 human zombies, 1 elf zombie, and 1 dwarf zombie, and that's a CR 1 total. So not so bad. But let's say we go to the other table and it's a CR 9 through 22, and we roll on that guy. It's a D6. And that, they got it off easy again, a number 1, and that's just a CR 9, Deceased Hatchery, 3 young zombie dragons. So fun stuff. Really saves the dungeon master a lot of time in their prep, because all the math has already been done for them. And we do the same thing in our other bestiary book, The Revenge of the Horde. That one has war bands, collections of different monsters that make sense to go together, and they also have their cumulative CRs, so you can very easily come up with cool encounters that make sense. So excellent book. These also have accessory decks. As you can see, we have basically the stat blocks and the graphics for the monsters. So you get an image of the monster on the back, and then on the face of it, you have the abbreviated stat block, and then all the basic stuff you need to know. So definitely a fun product. The reference decks are $20 MSRP. The books are $40 MSRP. And the Dreaded Accursed is a little bit bigger than the Revenge of the Horde. I think Revenge of the Horde is around like 225. Figure that out right now. Oh, it's all gone wrong. Oh no. All right. Need to get a really good set of bookends. Let's see, this one with layer maps, this one is just about 200 pages. So this one's a little bit smaller, but also a lot of great little perks and stuff in there. This one, Revenge of the Horde, your standard Hordish races: bugbears, gnolls, goblins, hobgoblins, kobolds, ogres, okiti, which are like rat men, orcs, and trolls. And we even have things in these books for like player options for them. So playable races for the Revenge of the Horde, it goes into like if you actually wanted to play a goblin or you wanted to play a gnoll, that kind of thing. Those options are in there for you. So we have lots of sub races and stuff like that too. So goblins are not just goblins, there's cave goblins and hill goblins and forest goblins in there. So in total, I think there's like it's gonna be like 20 goblins or something. So a lot of fun, switching it up and not just throwing the same creatures at the players over and over again. Let's see, moving on, we go on to Treacherous Traps. So Treacherous Traps is, I think, my favorite book so far. This is the reason this started was I was at a convention having I think we're having breakfast with Steve Winter, and we were talking about traps and the old school way of doing it, some of the traps that we had seen for 5th edition, and started thinking about like, well, what could we create that would be a very handy, quick thing for us to create traps on the fly. And it led me to my my Back to the Future flux capacitor moment, which was this page right here. Oh, where'd it go? Bear with me. There we go. So the random trap generator. So this page right here is what came from that conversation. And basically what we developed was 50 different trap triggers and 50 different trap effects. Of those, we've got mechanical triggers, mechanical effects, and magical triggers and magical effects. And then those that are sort of ambiguous. You could have them be mechanical or magical. It's up to you how you want to do it. So this was my flux capacitor moment where we came up with this. And from that, we created all the content in this book. We present 250 pre-generated traps, and those have become the 5 pre-generated decks that we offer. So those are going to look like this guy here. And these are according to level. So it's a level 1 through 4, 5 through 8, 9 through 12, 13 through 16, and 17 through 20. And these look like this. And they have different color coding on the top to indicate whether they are a mechanical trap or a magical trap or an ambiguous trap. You go, it could go either way. So that looks like this. You've got orange to indicate a mechanical, you've got blue to indicate a magical, and you've got purple to indicate that it could be either. And it simply gives you a title, a description, read aloud text, that kind of thing. And then it gives all the information about the trap. How is it found? How is it disarmed? How is it triggered? All that stuff is all there on the card. And equally so, it's going to be in the description of that trap in the book. So everything from these cards is in the book. These cards are not required to use the book, but the cards do make it fun just to, on the fly, shuffle, draw a card, and now you've got a trap to challenge the players. So, and then we also have a random trap generator deck in that collection that is a 100-card deck with the 50 cards for triggers and 50 cards for effects. So definitely a great resource. And if you like rolling on tables, the book's what you want. If you like drawing cards and shuffling stuff, then the card decks are what you want. The book will contain things that the card decks don't cover, like puzzles and riddles and stuff like that too. And here's all the cards that you get with the random trap generator. And that one's a bit more expensive. I believe it's at $20 or $25 for that one, but it does come with a big old nice instructional sheet and all sorts of extra little tables for customizing your trap that you create. So a fun thing to do on the fly. We've tried to simplify the rules as much as possible so that they're fun and easy to use. So let's see, that's Treacherous Traps. The hardcover is $40. The 50 card decks are 15, and I believe the 100 card deck is either 20 or 25. I'd have to, let's just assume it's 20. So moving on, we have Spectacular Settlements. I'm making a huge mess on my desk. This is the biggest book we've produced to date. And some of you may have seen this on Kickstarter. Each one of these we've Kickstarted. And our Kickstarters just they become bigger and bigger and bigger every single time we do them, which is great. And we also offer retailer pledge levels. But this book is it's a system agnostic, so not for 5th edition specifically. It could be used for Pathfinder or any edition of D&D or any fantasy role-playing game. Doesn't matter. It is the definitive guide to creating rich and diverse settlements for storytelling and fantasy role-playing games. This is 480 pages of how to create interesting trading posts, villages, towns, cities, capitals, fortresses, keeps, all manner of different places that your adventure may take place in, how to populate them with NPCs, how to populate them with shops and points of interest and things of that nature. So definitely a huge seller from our store. Lots and lots of copies of this. In fact, we're having to make another production order a lot sooner than we had expected. We thought that having as many as we had in stock would last us a while, and we were wrong, but that's a good thing. So this also contains 64 pre-generated settlements. So you're going to have a whole bunch of options to just drag and drop into your environment a trading post, a town, a city, a capital, whatever you want, that's fully fleshed out, has maps, has artwork for it. Definitely a lot to this book, and the MSRP on that is $50. So huge value in that book. Then we come to the Ultimate Guide to Alchemy, Crafting, and Enchanting. This is literally, it got off the boat on Friday or Monday. I got an email on Monday saying, we're trying to schedule delivery and all that. So that's very exciting. But with everything going on right now, COVID being what it is, it's definitely been a stressful time to be producing things overseas. Our production facility is in the Netherlands for these books, and it's in Poland for our card decks. So in case you're wondering. So the ultimate guide to Alchemy, crafting, and enchanting. I don't have a physical copy to show you because we haven't received any yet, because they're still on their way here. But this is a way to add a lot of interesting things for the players to do, professions basically, and then how to craft potions, how to forge weaponry, how to enchant your oak branch with the ability to cast lightning bolt, on command. So these are all things that is really directed toward the player and what they want to do during their downtime, ways that they want to contribute to the adventuring party outside of combat and outside of role play, the sort of thing that keeps them thinking about what they want to craft, like what kind of armor they want to craft and what kind of sigil they want to put on the chest, the big dragon head or something like that. And they want to also, craft some sort of, amazing blade with, the blood of a dragon infused in its steel or something like that. So that all those sorts of things are all covered in this book. And it's got different guilds, it's got different guild quests. It has recipes for all of the items available in the player's handbook, as well as some in the Dungeon Master's Guide. It has 4 accessory decks, so we were calling these the Magic Item Compendium decks. These are in the book. There's a whole chapter called Magic Item Compendium. There are 50 rods, staves, and wands, 50 potions, poultices, and powders, 50 rings and wondrous items, 50 weapons and armor. So what we did was we made decks out of all those. So you'll have artwork on one side and the description of it and what it does on the reverse. We have the hardcover book, I think it's around 240 pages at $40 MSRP. And each one of the Magic Item Compendium decks is $15 MSRP. Getting into LoreSmyth. So LoreSmyth is a company in the Netherlands. We represent them here in the US. So we do sell their products through GTS. We have their Remarkable Inns book, a very successful book that is all about how to create inns and taverns and make them interesting. Very well written, very well designed, laid out, just a gorgeous book overall. So highly recommend this one. They have 2 different versions, a hardcover and a softcover. Hardcover $30 MSRP, softcover $23 MSRP. They have a follow-up book to that called Remarkable Shops. Same kind of idea, NPCs for your shops, interesting shops to go and make purchases and stuff during your role-playing games. Both of these books system agnostic, so they can be plugged into any fantasy world. And again, $30 MSRP for the hardcover, $23 for the softcover. They have the Dungeon Discovery decks. Dungeon Discovery decks, basically you draw cards and combine the outcomes on the cards together to create interesting loot you could find, events that could happen, and they've got three decks here. Fumbled Searches is like, you find something, but it's not really worth much. The Curious Treasures is more in the valuable stuff you can find. And then the Woodland Voyage is more descriptive and event-based. So Dungeon Discovery decks all have an incredible number of outcomes. You can combine one of the 4 outcomes from the top of the card with one of the 4 outcomes from the bottom of the card, or combine multiple cards together. The outcome from the top of one card with the outcome of the top of the bottom from another card. So an excellent resource and fun for just creating stuff on the fly. And these are going to be $15 MSRP for the Dungeon Discovery decks. And then they have the same sort of thing only for sci-fi. So these are going to be locations, story hooks, and searches for the sci-fi genre. So definitely a cool series, and again, $15 MSRP. coming soon from Nord, we have two things to show you. One is the Ultimate Bestiary miniatures. So we took the Ultimate Bestiary Revenge of the Horde, and we picked 30 monsters from that, and we ran a Kickstarter during October this last year, and we raised the funds necessary to create the sculpts, the molds, and manufacture them in blister packs. They should arrive, we're modeling things after things like Nulzars, so they'll arrive in a blister pack sort of format like this. They'll be unpainted, and they're your standard Nulzars minis size. So and we're having those manufactured in China because that's where you do that kind of thing, and we should expect those third quarter of this year, and we'll be fulfilling the Kickstarter, and then they'll be available for our retailers. Next, we have Dangerous Destinations. This is the sequel to Spectacular Settlements. We expect it to be around the same size, probably pushing 400 pages or so, maybe more. This is basically designed to be the antithesis to Settlements, where this is going to be creating all of the dangerous places to go. Obviously, settlements can sometimes be dangerous, but this is more like you go here to have your dungeon delve. You go here to explore the Forbidden Forest. You go here to delve into the caverns, that kind of thing. So Dangerous Destinations is basically we call it the definitive guide to creating intriguing and dynamic destinations for storytelling and fantasy role-playing games. So it's going to be the follow-up and sort of sister book to Settlements, and an extremely good resource for dungeon masters who are trying to either prep for the game or create stuff on the fly. It'll also have, I believe it's like 72 pre-generated locations with artwork and maps. So lots of resources in this book as well. And then this one, this one would be probably about $50 if the size gets to the same size as Settlements. If it's a little bit smaller, it'll stay at 40, but we anticipate it'll be, I should add there, 40 to 50. So, but probably err on the side of 50 at this point because of the amount of content that's going into it. So yeah, that's all the coming soon stuff. So let's get into the Q&A. I'll go ahead and stop my screen share, and we can get into the Q&A here. Oh, yeah. Lots of questions. Okay, good.
Fantastic. I did answer a couple with what I knew, but we'll go back through them and take a look. Yeah, just one comment I will make for everybody is that we're really excited about carrying Nord games, and we're committed to stocking the product in our warehouses so that it's easily available to you. If you missed our artificial pre-order date, we had a pre-order date just to kind of get that information out there to our customers and make sure that everybody was aware of it and had the opportunity to get on board before it hits our warehouses. But this is going to be a product that's in our warehouses going forward. As long as Nord has it, we'll have it too. So feel free to go ahead and place any pre-order or orders at this point if you haven't received it yet. And we're expecting our first orders to arrive here pretty soon. Don't have an exact date yet, but we'll get that out to you as soon as we do. And
just so everyone's aware, we're a company with a full warehouse staff, and a COO is responsible for all the logistics around that, who's not me. I have got enough on my plate. So Taylor is fantastic at making sure that if we've got the inventory, we're gonna stock GTS, and Miles is our sales rep who is in constant contact with Scott. So if we've got it, GTS will have it. We do have a huge order into our production facility right now, so hopefully we can make it through. As COVID it seems to be coming to an end, things are picking back up, and so we're trying to make sure that we get as stocked as possible.
Yeah, and with that, it's important to remember that the shipping and getting things across the ocean has been a horrible mess for the past year. Yeah. And that's likely to continue for a while until things kind of normalize and really get back to a more regular schedule of things. So I would expect disruptions probably will continue for most of the rest of this year at some level. Whether or not that's big disruptions or small ones, we can't say yet. But the other question that came out was about whether or not Spanish editions were available. And I know we had initially talked about what you're doing there. So if you want to go ahead and take that.
Yeah. So Miles has been working with localizers in Europe. So I know that there is at least one, maybe two in Spain who have approached us about localization and translating it, whatever titles that they want to produce. And if that happens, we can certainly figure out how to get those units maybe into GTS or however it can happen. We're more than happy to facilitate that if it makes sense. We won't be doing it within Nord, but we will be handing that off to localizers in these various countries. I know that we were working with somebody in Brazil, but I believe Brazil is Portuguese, so it won't be in Spanish, unfortunately. But the ones that we're talking to in Spain then would be. But as far as logistics and stuff, we'll just have to keep you informed about how we're going to handle that, because they may deal directly with GTS because it'll be under their company. We'll have a Nord logo on there, but it'll be under their company for the localization.
And then I'll work with I'll make sure that Miles knows we're interested in knowing what else is available in localized.
I know that we are also talking with someone in France and maybe somebody in Germany as well. So it's a growing market. More and more, we're seeing more and more desire for support. Also Japanese. We had some people approach us about Japan localization. So the industry, we're seeing that more and more people are coming to the D&D world and the Pathfinder world because of how pop culture stuff is going on. Stranger Things and whatnot have really brought it into the forefront. And there will be a D&D movie. I'm not sure when that's going to happen because of COVID and all that stuff, but starring Chris Pine, I anticipate that's going to bring a lot of people into the hobby.
Yeah, there's a lot going on with different RPGs becoming television series or movies. So I expect it'll just continue to ramp up.
Game of Thrones brought a lot of people in. The Witcher's bringing a lot of people in. The Lord of the Rings Amazon series is going to bring a lot of people in. I think it's either Netflix or somebody's making it. Whoever's making it, it should be good.
I did also see there's a World of Darkness or a White Wolf theme TV series that's in the works as well.
I saw that too. Yesterday I saw that and I went, okay.
It's getting pretty mainstream. So yeah. I would expect to see it. And the past several years, reports have been that Dungeons and Dragons is growing. It has their best year, and then they have their next best year, and then they have the next best year. Yep. So I don't see where this is starting to tail off yet at all. So
it's certainly. Well, my observation on it is board gaming in general is a hobby, a niche hobby. And then role-playing games inside of that is a smaller niche, but that's growing more and more. I'm not sure if it'll ever have the mass appeal that board games does, but it's certainly growing. And so those of us who are publishing it are just dedicated to continuing to put out quality content, great artwork, great materials, great content. And they kind of sell themselves after that point. As long as you show it to the customer and they see the value in it, then they're all for it. That's our main thing, is the value proposition to the customers.
Yeah, and any tools like the books and card decks that you're producing that help make the gaming experience more fluid and easier to get into is just going to help people adopt that system even more. Yeah. So back to the questions. There is a question about. This is a great idea. Do you have a starter bundle or something that kind of gets a store rolling on? Hey, this is the initial product that you would want to bring in.
I know that Miles can be extremely helpful when it comes to that specifically, because he's got his finger on the pulse, what is the most popular product and what seems to be selling well. So we've got pretty good sales across the board, but there's definitely standouts. Like the Critical Hit series is always been one of the best sellers. So probably the best thing is to work with Scott and Miles on that. Maybe we could come up with a standard, because that would help us to send GTS the right amount of stock, but if there is sort of a standard bundle we could put together, then that would be good. I think a collaboration between Scott and Miles on that would be awesome. Additionally, Nord Games recently purchased a large format printer, and we were more than happy to print large posters of our products for your walls. So we're talking, I don't have any in front of me, but we're talking big poster sized, treacherous traps covers, or the full graphic, with the dead guy on the wall, this kind of stuff. So this we have access to, and we can certainly print those one-offs and put them in a tube and send them over to you free of charge.
Yeah, and I'll work on putting together some bundles. I think that's a great idea. So that would be really helpful. The other question I think you covered was, have all these items already been featured first on Kickstarter?
Yes. I can't think of anything that we haven't Kickstarted that's in our product line available to our retailers at this point. Can't think of anything.
Okay. And then another question, I think this is a good idea as well, but Tabitha asks, are there any of the decks good resources for Druid, Wild Shape, Beast choices?
So we don't have anything specific to that. If you maybe some of the beasts out of our Revenge of the Horde. In the back, we've got a bunch of, we call them Beasts of the Horde. Hey, Laura. Beasts of the Horde would include things like wargs and this kind of stuff. Laura just brought me in a poster so I can show you guys. So that's awesome. Yeah, nice and big. This is the Dreaded Accursed cover with no branding, but we would send you guys a branded version. We can send you 24 by 36, which is this size here, or 18 by 24 if you need a little bit smaller. Let's see what else do we have. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Thanks very much. That will do. Thank you. So this is the Dangerous Destinations artwork. So on the 1st of April, we moved into a new office. So we've been wanting to decorate, and we've all put in our own little orders like, hey, let's test out this printer. Let's get a bunch of this and this, and can I have one of those, please? So we have a dedicated staff member, Trevor, who does all the printing for us. So, and that's over in our warehouse. We have an office where all of the staff is, and then we have the warehouse where we have got a couple of staff. So the majority of the staff is at the office, but everyone else is at the warehouse. Oh yeah, it's gotten more complicated, but that's good. It's good. Things are improving.
Great. Well, that was it for questions so far. So if there are any additional questions, go ahead and pop those in there. We are kind of coming up against the time that we set for this, so we want to make sure that we honor that. But I'm real excited about the partnership. I think D&D is a growth product right now. And having products like yours that fit within the OGL that are supplemental for 5th edition, that make it easier on the GM and the players, and add a spark of creativity for, especially for new GMs or GMs that want to kind of explore different options that aren't in the main rule books. You've got a lot of material that's there for them, and there's a real hunger for 5th edition material. So you're filling that need, which is great. I'm real excited about the miniatures coming out too. Those will be a great addition to the line. So there is a question now from Manuel asking if you have an email for questions. So
Chris at NordGamesLLC.com would be me, and then Miles at NordGamesLLC.com would be for Miles, and then just in general sales at NordGamesLLC.com. I can type. There we go.
We'll include that on the YouTube as well, so that people have access to the sales one.
Yeah. Miles and myself are the primary people. My main role here is CEO, and I do a lot of different things, wear a lot of different hats, but am heavily involved in sales and marketing. So happy to answer any questions that may come through, but Miles is our dedicated sales rep and happy to answer any questions. And Julio, we are more than happy to send out some posters. We'll have to figure out logistics to ship it down to you in South America. But yeah, if retailers want stuff to hang on their walls, to advertise products, to advertise Nord games, and just have something cool on the wall that fits your motif, then we're happy to print something out and send it to you. We'll probably put together something that's like a 3-poster thing for all of our retailers, and it's just a free thing that we send to you guys.
Great. Awesome. Well, I want to thank you, Chris, for being here, and real excited about the partnership. So looking forward to getting to know you better that way, and seeing more product come from Nord Games. I've been impressed with what they sent me as samples to look at. So fantastic work. Thank you, retailers, for being here. We really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to learn more about the products. Once again, feel free to order away on this. The pre-order due date was just a kind of an artificial introductory kind of date for us, so it's not fixed in stone. You can continue to order, of course, as you need. For those of you watching on YouTube, once again, like and subscribe so that you get updates and know when the next webinars are coming. You can also register if you're a GTS retailer partner. You can register through the links in the description. So once again, thank you all for your time. We really appreciate it. Want to return the rest of your day back to you, and happy selling. Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Scott.
Thank you.